And we want people to be able to have a common sense path for that. But we're just letting everybody else in.
How frustrated are you? And I just got done talking about this. I've been a Republican my whole life, and I know you have been as well. But there's got to be some level of frustration with our party in the sense that the House is controlled by the Republicans. They've passed a piece of legislation that went to the Senate. The Senate won't act on it. But it seems like there's not enough action on actual solutions to the problems. There just seems to be a lot of rhetoric on the issue and not really much getting done.
That's what I just was talking with on this podcast. You know, we talked about how the fact is they're putting Band-Aids on the problems, but they're not actually fixing the problem. We keep wanting to spend money, and that bill that they were trying to run, this whole border bill, which wasn't a border bill, it was a global assistance bill, but it was designed to just continue to throw money at the back end of it as opposed to fixing the front end of it. And the way we fix the front end of it is we've got to secure our southern border, take control of it, vet people coming into this country. We don't allow people that have false asylum claims to come in, and we can't let the drugs flow in unabated either. These are all problems that we're facing, but it starts because we continue to try to fix problems way down the road, the symptoms of it, as opposed to actually treating the actual problem.
I thought of you. I saw a story. I think we talked about it either yesterday morning or this morning. The House came out with a report that said China is funding the fentanyl crisis in the U.S. And I thought, really, the issue for you in dealing with this, I know we're laughing about it, but can you just give us a couple of stories of what you've witnessed just with that fentanyl crisis, what's coming across the border, the overdoses, and the danger it's putting your people in?
Well, and you know, I'm not even laughing at the problem. I'm laughing at the fact that they're barely acknowledging it. I mean, look, we've been saying for 3 years that China has been feeding this. You know, in 2018, we had 0 M30 fentanyl pill seizures in Pinal County. 2019, we had 677 pills. In 2020, we had over 200,000 pills. In 2021, we had 1.2 million pills. And in 2022, we had 1.4 million pills. So, yeah, we had a real problem. And we kept saying, China is handing these drugs off to the cartels. The cartels are bringing it in. The leading cause of death in America right now amongst Americans between the ages of 18 to 45 is fentanyl poisonings. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about national security. When we talk about terrorism, we always think of it as a bomb going off or as a plane crashing into a building or somebody walking into a crowded building and shooting it up. And I've been saying lately, we are under a terrorist attack. And it looks like fentanyl. It's a quiet killer. It's killing Americans every day. No army has ever had success killing Americans like fentanyl has, and is coming from China and being put into the hands of the cartels.
One of the arguments, and I think that there is some substance to the argument, is that the Americans' appetite for this fentanyl, that we know that there are people that are addicts, that with other drugs, they have a chance at a life by getting off the drugs. But with this drug, one bad dose of this drug and their life is over. That's right. What do we do with the Americans that have the appetite for it? But what about the Americans that are trafficking in it?
And that's what's happening. It's majority Americans now because the cartels are making so much money that they're able to employ Americans. I keep hearing that you know, I went to Congress and they were saying, well, a lot of the people being arrested for smuggling humans and drugs are Americans. And I said, how do you say that like that's okay? I say that's a bigger problem because these transnational criminal organizations have so much money they can employ the Americans. But as far as dealing with the demand of it, you're right. Americans are demanding it, so they're filling the needs. But it's so prevalent that it's about at 10 cents a pill. And here's the thing, you cannot mop the bathroom floor. If you want to fix the demand problem and the drug addiction problem in America, you cannot mop that floor until you turn off the tub water. And we know where the water's coming from. It's coming from south of the border. The cartels are bringing the fentanyl in.
Something I heard you say at the last time we were at an event together, and I want you to, if you'll tell us a little bit of this story, you've lived all over the world. So you have seen this problem at different stages in your life in different countries. Can you talk about some of the places you lived and what's kind of led you to the opinions you have now? Because people see you're the Pinal County Sheriff, the cowboy hat, and so there's an opinion there that's out there of this all-American guy, but you've lived all over the world.
Yeah, I was born and raised on the Big Island in Hilo, Hawaii. Then when I was 11, we moved to the Philippines. And then for a few years during my junior high and high school years, we moved back to Arizona. My dad was from Chandler. But then we moved to Panama. I spent majority of my time in Panama. Then I lived in Argentina. And so while I look, I got the cowboy hat, and I'm a cowboy at heart, and I believe in traditional values and common sense. But at the same time, I understand what's going on across the world. I've spent time, I've visited other countries, I've lived in other countries, and I know exactly what's going on, and I know how great America is. America's the greatest country. But if we continue to allow what's going on, we won't be the greatest country anymore. And we won't be the place where you can find freedom and make the best of your life. We've got to protect that. This is the Alamo of freedom, and why I'm so strong on the border and fighting against fentanyl is because if we don't, we're in big trouble.
What does the balance look like for you? Because I've said on the air many times, I don't think there's anybody that is more pro-legal immigration than I am. And I know you feel the same way. So what is the balance? We want to have open arms. We want to be the shining city on the hill. Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. How do we balance? Because it's my opinion that we call everybody a migrant now, and we're using the phrase newcomer, that it's kind of tainted this, and it's a bad look for the legal immigrants. What's the balance? Do we have a thriving legal immigration system while we're trying to stop illegal immigration? How do we do that?
It's part of the reason I'm running for the U.S. Senate, because Senate and Congress have failed. Year after year after year, we're continuing to talk about this. I think it's become a fundraising issue every 2 years, and Washington, D.C. has failed to fix it. And what it does is it opens it up for the cartels and the everybody else to make money, and they're using people to do it, whether it's the people that are trying to come here to make a better life. They're doing it illegal, and the cartels are encouraging them to do it. Our government is encouraging them with funding NGOs that are encouraging these things. The problems are very deep, and they start in Washington, D.C. And we could fix this problem very easily, and we could put some common sense stuff in place and use the resources within immigration and naturalization to actually process legitimate requests to come to this country, people who will benefit our country, as opposed to leaving it open and allowing people to break our law or make false asylum claims and put a really a heavy burden on our economical system, on our legal system. The problems go on. But it's got to start in D.C. We've got to fix those problems and make it more common sense, because I, like you, believe that if somebody wants to come here and we think they could be a great citizen here, we should have a process in place that allows them to do it without the cartels making money, without other people benefiting from it.
Would you be in favor of a guest worker program that people applied for outside of the U.S., matched up with a job in the U.S.? And we're not talking about just the big visas for the high-tech jobs, but whether it's construction or working class people are more thriving. Do you believe that might slow down some of the false asylum claims if they had an easier path to come here to work?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's so bad right now that people are just trying to cut the line. And people don't know. A lot of these people are not educated. They're not professional people in their own countries. They've been told by the cartels, if you come here, we'll get you into this country. Just bring $5,000 with you. And if you don't have it, don't worry. You can pay us on credit. And then they extort those people. So a lot of that won't stop until we weaken the cartels, until we really take control of the southern border. But I do agree that if we had some work visa programs, that would certainly help. And we should be doing that. I've been to Yuma, been to a lot of these places where they need that workforce to come in. And I can guarantee you there's a lot of employers out here would love to fill some positions they have. But we've got to have a common sense place. But they're still going to, as long as we have broken border policies, which this administration does, we're going to continue to have people being taken advantage of.
Last question, because I know that you deal with this, and it's the ugliest part of this, and it's the human trafficking part. Whether it's young people being forced into the drug trade or young women being forced into the sex trade, we've got almost 100,000 kids that are unaccounted for that came across the border unaccompanied. Can you talk about you having to address that issue of human trafficking and how ugly it is?
We deal with it every day. We had a pursuit the other day. We stopped this car, and while we were talking to the guy, it wasn't adding up. And all of a sudden, when we asked if we could search the car, he took off. We pursued him. We popped 3 of his tires with stop sticks. He was still going 80 miles per hour on the rims. We finally pitted him, got him off. And when we finally stopped, we hear this pounding on the trunk. We open it up, and there was an illegal juvenile in the trunk that we believe was there against his will. This is what's going on in America. I think slavery, not to take away from what happened hundreds of years ago in this country, but slavery is as prolific now as it's ever been. And what's sad is a lot of that slavery is sex trade. The sex trade here in America is out of control. And whether it's the women that are being trafficked, the children that are being trafficked, we got a real problem in this country. And having an open border is only filling that need, that disgusting and perverse need that people have. And look, I'm very concerned, and we as Americans can do better than this, and we should do better than this. But it takes some people with some courage and some fortitude to say, look, this isn't right. We need to fix it, but we're going to go through some painful times before we get it fixed.
Sheriff, I appreciate you dropping in. It's always great to see you.
Always good seeing you.
All right, Sheriff Mark Lamb from Pinal County is joining us. We'll be back here in a minute with Did You Hear This?